Hey guys, I'm Lily O'Reilly. This is Lily O'Reilly Reviews, and today we are yet again doing something different. So, I recently purchased a tarantula. This is going to be a video about spiders. Not very large spiders, but regardless, if you are severely arachnophobic, now is a good time to go find another video. Maybe one of my worm videos to watch. However, if you want to watch this, let's get to it, huh? But Lily, you might say, why are you getting a spider? And the only answer I have for you is that I am terrified of spiders. Always have been. Had an incident as a kid where one jumped inside the leg of my overalls, one of the big garden spiders, and it climbed my leg while I screamed and tried to turn myself inside out to get away from it. Ever since, spiders have given me the crawlin' heebie-jeebs. As I've gotten older and lived on my own, I've gotten to a point where I'm not utterly terrified. I can do some catch and release if I have to. The little ones that live in the corners are fine. They can hang out in my house. It's cool. But I don't like the big ones. Okay, dumbass, why are you getting a tarantula? Cause it's quarantine, because I have free time, because I think some exposure therapy might actually help me be less afraid of them. I am, in this video, going to get my setup together for a sling. Now, if you didn't know, a sling is what you call a spiderling. Sling. Perfect. That was not the white supremacist gesture, that was the generic okay gesture. Sad that we have to make that clear nowadays. Before I get into this, I do want to put out a massive shout out to Tom Moran. He runs the channel Tom's Big Spiders, and his videos have been super instrumental in helping me feel prepared for my tarantula acquisition, both in terms of picking the species and in terms of prepping the enclosure. And, like, he's got a really soothing voice. It's so chill. They've become my go-to, like, I put on a couple of his videos about, like, random species, and then I just zonk out at the end of the night. Very soothing. Smaller channel, but 10/10 would recommend if you're into tarantulas. Now, what species did I pick? I'm gonna butcher this. So, the species I chose to go with is called Tliltocatl albopilosus. Basically, it is a curly-haired tarantula. There are two types of tarantulas. There's New World and Old World, and they have some really important differences. New World tarantulas come from North America, South America, basically our side of the hemisphere, speaking as a North American. They have some traits in common. Generally, they're kind of chunky. They're kind of slow. If they bite you, it feels like a bee sting. It's not the way into the world. And they have what's called urticating hairs on their butt. So if they get freaked out, they flick their little butt hairs at you. And funny enough, that's actually what itching powder used to be made out of. Tarantula butt hairs. That's your thing for the day. And it's kind of cute because if a New World tarantula gets stressed out, they'll rub a big shiny bald spot on their booty. The other option, the option I did not go with, are called Old World tarantulas. Africa, Asia, thereabouts. These little buggers are fast. They got those long spindly legs that I don't like. A lot of them are arboreal, which means they live in trees, which I don't like. They do a lot of webbing, which I don't like. And if they bite you, it's serious. Like if an Old World tarantula bites you, pain, muscle cramping, dizziness, vomiting, multiple days of feeling like death. I'm not ready for that level of terror. So, I went with a New World spider. The Tliltocatl albopilosus are Honduran, Nicaraguan. So there's a little bit of a thing going on with this species. You get two variants. The Honduran species my understanding is it's a hobby variant, which means it is a hybridized version, because lots of tarantulas can interbreed, but you shouldn't. Don't interbreed or hybridize tarantulas. I'll admit I'm a little fuzzy on why, but everything I found says hybrid tarantulas are bad, so I trust them. So the hobby morph is, from what I can tell from looking at them, chunkier, darker, fuzzier. They've got these gold curly hairs that look like they have a bad perm. The Nicaraguan variant is more of a clean bloodline imported from Nicaragua. Looks a little different, a little thinner, a little less floofy. I personally tend to prefer the Honduran or hobby variant because I like the looks. Now, I ordered my tarantula from a place called Jamie's Tarantulas. She's a breeder who puts up spiderlings, slings, and adults that you can order online. I was a smidge hesitant about ordering online, especially with the USPS stuff, with COVID and everything. But my local pet shop only has spiders this big, and I'm not ready for that. So I ordered a sling that is supposed to be between 3/4 and 1 inch. So it's gonna be like yee big, like a quarter, I think, maybe a $half. Because you measure them on the diagonal across their longest leg points. So this is not going to be a huge spider. So I'm hoping that because it's kind of a medium growth species, I get the spider now while it's small, and I have time to get used to the idea of a big spider before it gets chunka huge. So what we're gonna do today, I have anywhere between half an hour and an hour and a half before my spider arrives. So we're gonna set up its first enclosure. Now I ordered it from Jamie with its juvenile enclosure, which is a larger one for once it hits, I think, like 1.5 inches. In the meantime, I'm taking Tom's advice off his channel and I'm going to build a sling enclosure. Basically a small deli cup. I got this from City Barbecue. It had coleslaw in it yesterday. And this will provide a safe space for the sling to live in, and it's small enough that it's not going to have trouble finding its prey, etc., etc. Just easier. And then as it gets bigger, we'll size it up into the bigger tank. So, I'm going to put my hair up, and then we're going to make some shit, and it's going to be kind of cool. One of these days, I'm going to shave this mop off, so I don't have to deal with it no more. And I love that you guys like me even when I go full knitting grandma and I pin it up. Alright, hair's up. I look like a 12-year-old boy. Let's get to it. One of the things that he said is super important is to put holes around the top for ventilation. I have a drill. It will drill. Please tell me some of y'all have seen Forged in Fire. Now we're gonna see if this works. Ah, it does. Behold. We have a hole. And a spider. Guys, we have a spider. Stop yelling. He's already gone. So, I'm going to finish putting holes in this, and then we are going to unpack this, and then spider. I'm equal parts terrified and very excited. Okay. Container has been thoroughly perforated, and I will admit I am all nerves right now. As I've perhaps mentioned, I'm terrified of spiders. Utterly, utterly terrified. I'm going to hit the inside of this with a little bit of sandpaper because there are some rough spots. The nice part about being in the middle of DIY is I've got this shit just like hanging out. It's gonna make the plastic a little more opaque, but I don't want there to be anything for the little sling to get its feet caught in. And I now see why he recommends a soldering iron. Because you wouldn't have these little plastic squiggles on the inside. I'm just going through and scraping them off with my fingernails to make sure that the holes are as clean as possible. Alright, so the holes aren't perfectly open, but most of them are, and I think that's probably good enough. Because technically I did put in more holes for ventilation than were strictly needed. Possibly because I'm a little neurotic, and possibly because I am just super nervous about doing this right. So, okay, holes are in, table is cleared. Now phase 1 is to put a level of dirt in the bottom. He recommends a mix of cocoa core and dirt, which I think they included cocoa core in my package. One second, and I'll pull it and we can see. Okay, so inside the package, it comes with a piece of information on what to do for DOA. Because I signed for it, it has live arrival guaranteed for 48 hours. And how to contact them if it's fucked up, which I hope it isn't. Lift out the first container. Lift out the spiderling container. Actually, the footprint's about the same. I may just put it in that. And then, this has a baby in it, which I'm still low-key terrified of, so it's going to go over there. But yeah, now that I see their container, because for comparison purposes, here's the juvenile container they sent. Here's the cup I was preparing. The footprints, basically identical. No reason for me to do this, so wasted time. But still, would have been a pretty good container. So for this, it has a mesh vent in the top. I've heard mesh isn't ideal because they can get their little footses stuck in it, but this is a terrestrial species. It doesn't like to climb, so it should be pretty safe. Now inside their container, you get a water dish. You get a cork hide, which you use to begin their burrow. You get some moss to put on top. You get cocoa core. You get more cocoa core. You get a fancy fake leaf. So, I'm actually going to do a mix of cocoa core and dirt because I prefer bioactive vivs, which means they have things like isopods and springtails in them. If you've seen my information on my snake or anole tanks, I run those bioactive. Having things like isopods and springtails really helps to make sure that you don't have to clean up the waste because your little cleanup crew will do it for you. I've got the cocoa core, I moistened it. I'm gonna grab a glove. I much prefer to be gloved for things like this. I'm gonna mix in a little bit of dirt from one of my bioactive vivs. Very gently mix it in, because I don't want to hurt anything that's currently living in there. There we go. So now we have a very healthy mixture of coconut coir and dirt. Now I'm going to put this into the bottom layer. Now Tom suggests that when you put your bottom layer in, moisten it fairly aggressively and pack it down. Now the point of packing it down is so that your critter can tunnel if it wants to. So I'm going to moisten this again to give it a wet layer at the bottom. As far as I'm aware, the curly hares are not a high humidity species. However, I still want to give them access to it in theory. So, nice wet bottom layer. Then I'm going to put in the rest of the coconut coir mix. Spread that out. Add a little bit more of their coconut coir. I've heard they burrow a bit, so I'm trying to make sure they have a very thorough burrowing option. So, I think I'm going to finish out with the rest of their coir just to make sure there's enough. To me personally, I think that looks a lot better. That's a good depth for burrowing. Add a little bit more water just so it'll compact better. There's the nicely compacted base layer. Now I'm going to toss in my little Scrabble bit of dirt. That had the isopods and springtails and other bioactive components, all out of a very healthy tank that I know does not have mites, pesticides, or anything else that could hurt the tarantula. So there we go. Cool. Step 2, we bury the hide. So I need to make a little starter burrow right there. Sink the cork down into it. And the whole point of this is just to give the tarantula somewhere to feel safe when it first goes into the tank. So, there's a hide. Gives it somewhere to dive into. Now they provided me with moss. I am actually going to go with a little bit of leaf litter because aesthetically I prefer it. And then I will also include some sphagnum on the other side. This has a little bit of moss in it as well to give them a hide. I'm just a sucker for a more naturalistic look than things like green moss really provides. I say as I get ready to shove a fake ass looking plant in here. I don't know why you are supposed to include the tiny fake plant, but everything I see says it's important. So I'm going to try this instead, see if I like it better. Ah, parts of it fell off. So I just want to make this something that my little buggy thing will like. Alright. We have a hide. We have a plant. We have some leaf litter. We have a water dish, which I'm going to park right there in the corner. This is the point where I really wish I'd been able to find my forceps, because they would have made all of this a lot easier. there we go. Hang on. Setup is ready. I'm going to go return this stuff. Actually, it can sit right there. Move that. Move the tubs. Move the plant. I don't need my cork bark that I brought. So now we are very, very, very carefully going to put a spider in here, which I am terrified of. I'm using a shoebox to basically try to minimize its ability to fling itself off my table and escape. I'm gonna go get a pair of improvised forceps, also known as really big tweezers, and I'll be back. Now, annoyingly, I know for a fact that I own a pair of actual forceps. I use them in my aquarium all the time. Don't know where they went. No clue. But I do have some fairly long tweezers, and I have a makeup brush to help with the transfer without stressing the spider. Oh, I am legitimately terrified. I hate spiders. Why am I doing this? Because I want to get over being afraid of spiders. So I'm going to fill the water dish. Tom recommends using a water bottle cap, and that's probably what I'll do if this one gets dirty enough to merit removal. Alright, let's move a spider. I don't know why this is so scary to me, but it is. Abso-fucking-terrifying. It looks like it's inside of a bottle. So at least I don't have to be terrified about the first part as much. This is a tiny baby. It fits in a bottle. Like, you can see my hand shaking. I am terrified. It is a tiny spider. You are doing this to get over your fear of spiders. This will be fine. It's okay. It is not big enough to be a threat. It's more scared of you than you are of it. Okay. Okay. It is packed inside a moist... This is dumb. I hate being this arachnophobic. Now, he said you have to be very careful to make sure that your paper towel doesn't compact, because if your paper towel squishes as you take it out, you could hurt the baby. Hands are still shaking. Hand shaking has gotten worse. But I really want to not be afraid of tarantulas. I really, really fucking want this to be a good thing. Okay. Paper towel is out. Okay. Now I just have to unroll it. And there's going to be a spider in there. And it's going to be fine. So I'm going to move the camera down so you can watch this happen. I can see it in there. There's a little black mass. Come on, baby. I really want this to be good. I really want to not be so scared of you. And I'm very sorry that I'm probably making this like super traumatic for you because I'm terrified to touch it. Okay, we're going to very carefully hold this corner. Hands are still shaking. Come on, baby. Okay, come on. This was either the most genius or the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. I I see you. You're not very big. I shouldn't be afraid of you, and I'm really trying not to be. Come on, baby. Okay, seeing it through the paper is not helping. We've gone into full arachnophobe mode. It's tiny. It's not going to bite me. It can't hurt me. Sorry, I can see it crawling through the paper. And I do not know why I'm so terrified. It is a dumb, visceral fear. I do not want to hurt this thing, but I really would like for it to come out now so I can be done with this. Sweetheart. Precious baby, you're bigger than I thought you were. Okay, I can do this. It is just a tarantula. You bought a tarantula. You knew what you were getting into. It's tiny and they don't jump. You'll be fine. So now I have to very gently herd said tarantula off the paper. Go on. Go on. You have a hide. It's a very nice hide. I built it for you. We're going to be great if I can just make sure you're in the hide. And then I take the paper that you're not on anymore, right? You are very definitely not on the paper. You are in the hide. Okay. That worked. I did it. I am still shaking, but I have a tarantula now. I legitimately have my very own baby tarantula. And I was terrified. Wow, did not think that was going to be as gut-wrenchingly scary as it was, but apparently arachnophobia is still serious, even when I logically know we're cool. And I'm very glad that I went ahead and used the Jamie's enclosure instead of the cup, just because of how much cleaner it looks when assembled. And down in there, inside the little hide, right there, is my tiny baby Tliltocatl albopilosus curly-haired tarantula. Fuck. Thank you for hanging out with me through that. That was something. I've got heart rate in the hundreds right now. Definitely not my forte. But we did it. So, I would love opinions on if you have tarantulas. I am not okay with getting opinions of, ew, it's gross, stomp it, kill it, etc., because I will block you. Because this is a project for me to try to get over this absolute gut-wrenching terror. Again, big shout out to Tom Moran and his channel because it is phenomenal. And if you're interested, comment, let me know, and I'll do more of like her care and husbandry and whatever. Also, since you've stuck around this far, if you're familiar with my vermicomposter, I have a series of videos on it. I'm actually in the middle of plotting out a project where I'm going to build a much larger one for the future. So that's going to be fun. Aw, she came to the front of her little hide. She's kind of pretty. She's like silver. Hang on, I'm going to move the camera. I want you guys to see her. She's so pretty. So I'm absolutely going to spend the rest of my night staring at this pretty girl. Thank you for being here with me through this. If you would like to toss me $3 or more for my tarantula care, you can do that at ko-fi.com/Lily O'Reilly. If you want to find me where I exist on the internet, that's allmylinks.com/Lily O'Reilly. And, yeah, there's probably going to be more of these because she's, like, weirdly adorable. Even though she scares the crap out of me, she's real cute. So, yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.